That's my mama's song. But she died last year, the child said softly. The metal bowl caught each green pea with a soft ping as Mercy's small fingers worked the pods. Evening air hung thick around the farmhouse porch, heavy with the smell of honeysuckle and her father's cigarettes. She had shelled maybe 2 handfuls when the melody drifted through the pine trees behind their property. Her hands froze. The tune wrapped around her like her mother's arms used to, soft and familiar and impossible. "Mama?" The word slipped out before she could stop it. The screen door slammed. Her father's boots hit the porch boards hard. "Mercy, get inside now." "But Daddy, that's—" "I said now." His voice carried the sharp edge it got when he'd been drinking, which was most nights since the funeral. But the song kept floating through the trees, drawing her like a fishing line. She set down the bowl and slipped off the porch, while her father went back inside for another beer. The woods felt different at twilight. Shadows stretched long between the pines, and something made the hair on her arms stand up. But the lullaby pulled her deeper, past the old fence posts and through the clearing where she used to pick blackberries with her mother. She found the woman sitting beside the stone well, humming soft and low. Sheriff Dalton's wife, Elizabeth, with her perfect blonde hair and church dress, looking nothing like someone who should know that song. "Where'd you learn that song?" Elizabeth's head snapped up. Color drained from her face like water from a broken jug. "What song, honey?" "Don't lie. That's my mama's song. She made it up for me." Elizabeth stood so fast she stumbled. "I have to go. I shouldn't be here." She hurried away through the trees, leaving Mercy alone beside the well. Moonlight caught something dark floating in the water below, something that looked almost like fabric or hair. Mercy backed away, her mother's lullaby still echoing in her head, but now it sounded different. Now it sounded like a warning. Mercy slipped through the back door. Her father sat slumped in his chair, empty whiskey bottle cradled in his lap like a baby. His snores filled the living room. She crept past him toward the narrow stairs that led to the attic. The wooden steps creaked under her weight. Dust motes danced in the moonlight, streaming through the small window. Her mother's cedar chest sat in the corner, just where it had been since the funeral. Mercy lifted the heavy lid. The smell of lavender sachets hit her first. Then she saw the manila folder stuffed with papers. Letters, all in her mother's careful handwriting. All addressed to the state capital. She pulled out the first one. Her mother had documented everything. Payments made to Sheriff Dalton. Girls who had gone missing from neighboring counties. Deaths ruled accidents that weren't accidents at all. "What were you doing, Mama?" The next letter made her stomach turn. Names, dates, amounts of money. Her mother had signed every single page. The final letter, still in an unsealed envelope, mentioned Sarah Kemper. "If something happens to me, the truth is in the well. They killed Sarah for asking questions. Now they're coming for me." Footsteps on the porch below. Mercy stuffed the letters back in the folder and pressed her ear to the floor. A car door slammed. Through the attic window she saw Sheriff Dalton's patrol car in their driveway. "Evening, James. Mind if I come in?" "Course not, Sheriff." Her father's voice sounded thick with sleep and whiskey. Mercy clutched the folder to her chest and tried not to breathe. The front door opened with its familiar squeak. "Sorry to bother you so late. Just wanted to check on you and the girl." "We're fine." "That's good to hear." "Real good." The sheriff's boots moved across the wooden floor below. Mercy could hear him looking around, probably searching for something. Her hands shook as she held the evidence of what her mother had discovered. Mercy pressed the folder against her chest and held her breath. The voices below grew clearer as the men settled into the living room. "Been thinking about Annie lately. Terrible thing, that accident. Wasn't no accident and you know it." Her father's voice cut through the night like broken glass. Mercy crawled closer to the floor, pressing her ear against the old wooden planks. "Careful, James. Grief makes a man say foolish things." She was getting close to something. "That's why—" "Why what?" "Why she drove off Miller's Ridge in the rain." The sheriff's boots creaked across the floorboards. Mercy could track his movement through the house by the sound. He was looking around, searching. "Rain don't explain the brake lines." "What brake lines?" "Don't play dumb with me, Ray." A chair scraped against the floor. Someone sat down hard. "Your wife had a drinking problem, James. Everyone knew it. Annie never touched a drop in her life." Annie left anything behind? Letters, maybe. Documents. Mercy's hands tightened on the folder. Her mother's careful handwriting felt warm against her fingers. Nothing but sorrow. Mind if I look around? Got a warrant? The silence stretched long and cold. Then came the sheriff's laugh, empty as winter wind. Don't need one. Not in this county. Then I guess you better start looking. More footsteps. The sheriff moved toward the kitchen. Mercy heard drawers being pulled open, cabinets being searched. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she realized what he was hunting for. James, your daughter around? Sleeping? Might want to check on her. Make sure she's safe. The threat hung in the air like smoke. Mercy clutched the letters tighter and prayed the old attic floorboards wouldn't give her away. The sound of the sheriff tearing through drawers sent Mercy scrambling toward her bedroom window. She clutched the folder and slipped out onto the porch roof, then dropped down to the grass below. The cemetery lay just beyond the cornfield, a safe place where the dead kept their secrets. Moonlight painted the headstones silver. Mercy walked between the graves until she found it. Sarah Kemper, 1985-2003. Beloved daughter. Fresh flowers lay against the white marble, their petals still wet with dew. You looking for answers too, child? Mercy spun around. An elderly woman stepped out from behind a tall monument, carrying a metal watering can. Her gray hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her eyes held the same sadness Mercy saw in the mirror. You knew her? Knew your mama, too. Name's Ruth Kemper. Sarah was your granddaughter. Both of them tried to speak truth. Both of them paid for it. Ruth's weathered hands gripped Mercy's shoulders. Her fingers were strong despite her age. Sarah went to that well the night she died. Your mama went there 2 years ago. What's in the well? Proof. Evidence they've been hiding for 20 years. Car headlights swept across the cemetery entrance. Ruth grabbed Mercy and pulled her behind a large stone cross. The patrol car moved slowly between the graves, its spotlight cutting through the darkness. Sheriff's looking for you. Time you learned what they don't want you to know. Ruth's voice was barely a whisper, but it carried the weight of decades. The headlights passed over their hiding spot and continued toward the back of the cemetery. Come with me, child. We got work to do. Ruth's pickup truck rattled down a dirt road that seemed to lead nowhere. Her farmhouse sat alone in a valley, windows dark and paint peeling from years of neglect. Inside, her kitchen table was covered with newspaper clippings, police reports, and photographs. Faces of young women stared up at Mercy from faded pictures. Some were school photos, others looked like driver's license shots. All of them young, all of them gone. Started in the 80s. Girls going missing, always the same type. Poor, no family with influence. What happened to them? Some got sold, some got buried, all got forgotten. Ruth pointed to a photograph of 3 men in expensive suits shaking hands outside the courthouse. Mercy recognized Sheriff Dalton immediately. Governor Harrison, Sheriff Dalton, Judge Prescott. They call themselves the County Council. Been running this place for decades. My mama found out? Your mama had evidence. Sarah had evidence. Now they're both dead. Mercy's hands shook as she studied the papers spread across the table. Her mother's handwriting filled the margins of police reports, documenting patterns of disappearances that went back 20 years. What's in the well? The proof your mama died for. Camera film, documents, recordings. Why didn't you get it? Been trying for 20 years. Well's on Dalton property. Armed guards, security cameras. Thunder rumbled outside, shaking the old farmhouse windows. Ruth moved to look out into the darkness. Storm's coming. And so is the sheriff. Red and blue lights flashed between the trees, growing closer. Ruth grabbed a canvas bag from under the sink. Time to go, child. Rain hammered the farmhouse roof as the patrol cars surrounded the property. Sheriff Dalton's voice boomed through a megaphone cutting through the thunder. Ruth Kemper, this is Sheriff Dalton. Send the girl out. Like hell. Ruth pulled an old hunting rifle from the closet and checked the chamber. Mercy peered through the curtains. 3 patrol cars, 6 men, all armed and spreading out around the house. You got 10 seconds before we come in. Back door. They got it covered. Lightning lit up the kitchen like a camera flash. Ruth grabbed the canvas bag from under the sink. Rope flashlight bolt cutters rattled inside. There's another way. Drainage tunnel runs from my cellar to the creek. Where's the creek lead? 1/4 mile from the well. The first gunshot shattered the front window. Glass exploded across the floor as Ruth pushed Mercy toward the cellar stairs. "Your mama died, protecting what's down there. Don't let her die for nothing. I'm scared." "Good. Fear keeps you alive." They descended into the musty darkness as boots crashed through the front door above. Ruth slid away a wooden panel in the cellar wall, revealing a narrow tunnel carved into packed earth. "Crawl fast. Don't stop till you see starlight." The sound of men searching grew closer. Heavy footsteps moved through the rooms above. Mercy grabbed the canvas bag and disappeared into the tunnel as Ruth chambered a round in her rifle. "Come on then, you bastards." Mercy crawled through mud and roots as gunfire echoed behind her. The tunnel felt like a grave, narrow and suffocating. Her knees scraped against stone and dirt until finally she saw a circle of grey light ahead. She emerged by the creek, soaked and shaking. Rain plastered her hair to her skull. Through the trees, security lights illuminated the well like a stage. 2 guards patrolled the area, but the storm had them taking shelter under a lean-to, smoking cigarettes and complaining about the weather. Mercy used Ruth's bolt cutters on the chain-link fence. Lightning masked the sound of snapping metal. She slid through the gap, low-crawling across wet grass toward the stone circle. The well's wooden cover bore a heavy padlock. More bolt cutting. Her hands bled as she lifted the cover, the wood heavier than she expected. "Please be there, Mama." She tied Ruth's rope to the well's stone edge and rappels down into darkness. 20 feet of nothing, then her feet touched something solid, a wooden platform. Her flashlight revealed a metal box wrapped in plastic, just like her mother had promised. Inside, photographs of young girls being loaded into trucks, financial records showing payments to officials, audio cassettes labeled with dates and names. Her mother's voice on the first tape, clear and determined. "If you're hearing this, they got me. But the truth is here." Footsteps above. A flashlight beam cut down the well like a sword. "Found her!" Mercy grabbed the box and scrambled up the rope as a gunshot rang out. The bullet sparked off stone inches from her head. Sheriff Dalton's face appeared at the well's mouth, twisted with rage. "Nowhere to run now, little girl." Mercy clutched the box to her chest. Her mother's lullaby filled her mind, giving her strength. "My mama's song says different." Mercy stood at the bottom of the well, holding the evidence box as Sheriff Dalton aimed his gun down at her. Rain dripped through the opening above, mixing with her tears. "Give me that box, and I'll make your death quick." "Same deal you gave Mama?" "Your mama couldn't leave well enough alone." Mercy opened the box with shaking hands. Her mother's voice echoed from an audio recorder, clear and strong even in the stone chamber. Sheriff Ray Dalton accepted $50,000 to ignore the disappearance of Sarah Kemper. Dalton's face twisted with rage. He holstered his gun and started climbing down the rope. "Shut that off." But Mercy had found her mother's final recording, the one that named them all. She pressed play as Dalton descended. Governor Harrison, Judge Prescott, State Senator Mills, 23 girls over 15 years. All sold or killed to protect the county council. Sirens wailed in the distance. Ruth must have triggered some kind of alarm. Dalton's boots scraped against stone as he descended faster. "State police won't save you." "I own them too." Lightning illuminated the well's mouth. A figure appeared above, Elizabeth Dalton, the sheriff's wife. "Ray, stop."
"Get back to the house, Elizabeth."
"I already called the FBI. It's over." Dalton's face crumbled. His grip loosened on the rope. Mercy pressed herself against the wall as he fell past her into the deeper darkness below. Elizabeth's voice drifted down, soft as a lullaby. "I've been waiting 20 years to sing that song free." Federal agents pulled Mercy from the well as EMTs worked on Sheriff Dalton's broken body. The evidence box sat open beside them, 20 years of secrets finally exposed to daylight. 3 months later, Mercy sat on her porch shelling peas into the same metal bowl. The trials had ended. Governor Harrison resigned in disgrace. Judge Prescott got life in prison. The county council dissolved like smoke. Elizabeth Dalton approached with a plate of fresh bread. She'd lost weight, aged years, but her eyes held something they hadn't before. "Peace. Mind if I sit?" "Course not." They shelled peas in comfortable silence. Then Elizabeth spoke, her voice soft as evening air. That song, your mama taught it to me, said it was passed down from her grandmother. Why were you singing it at the well? Same reason you went there? Trying to honor the dead. Elizabeth's voice broke slightly. I knew what Ray was doing. Been afraid to stop him for 20 years. What changed? Hearing your mama's song in your voice. Realize some things are worth dying for. Ruth's pickup truck rattled up the drive. She brought fresh flowers for Annie's grave and news that the families of the missing girls were finally getting answers. As evening fell, the three women sat together, watching fireflies dance in the gathering dusk. Mercy began to hum her mother's lullaby, and for the first time since her death, it sounded like hope.